right there.
So ACH with me, it ain't the town taking that deposit, it's the bank.
Right. The ACH is set up where it goes into, there's two different things, but yeah, I mean, basically it goes into the bank. You know, the bank has to handle that ACH.
And I have it, I have automatic withdrawal when I signed up through the town.
It goes
So
through
then
the
the
town.
town puts it through the bank.
Well,
So you would have to change every one of those.
You give the application back to the town, and then the town basically takes you to First Citizen and turns it in, so yeah, every one of those would have to be, hey, do you have someone on there if I turn my?
Yes.
Kelly, how do you do?
How you been?
Tess, can they hear anything now?
Hear anything now?
Seen you in.
Are y'all hearing anything in the speakers?
Can you hear me now?
No.
Yeah,
Check.
we'll see you more.
Check.
Just vibration.
3, 2, 1.
Just vibration.
This would be a good night to get it all worked out. We got a short meeting. That's better. Can you hear now? Can you hear? Can you hear me?
No speaker.
Okay. Okay. Check.
Still nothing in the speaker?
I can hear something somewhere, but I can't tell what
Yeah. Test.
it's here it is.
3, 2, 1. I hear echo.
Test.
Yeah.
Let me make sure that all says the same.
Check.
I'm getting back. Ain't no trouble putting it back in. I just understand that. I can tear my head off.
I got a 2-year warranty on this stuff. Did we ever get them to come back out here and look at this?
Yeah, he's supposed to give me a date tomorrow when he can be out here next week, and now that we're having this problem. Somebody has moved the master volume over. Here's what's happened.
I went back and read our contract with them.
Yeah, it's warranty from them and through the company itself, but hopefully we're getting some sound out now. I know I can hear the speakers. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and move forward. Did we get a second to Alderman Duncan's motion to hear the town insurance, medical
A
insurance?
second.
Second by Vice Mayor Sutton. Gentlemen, you've got lots of information in front of you. Again, this is the state policy. A couple things the state policy does on that second sheet that says health insurance options. With the state policy, you have to offer all 4 plans to the employees, which gives it, again, the premier, standard, limited, and local. One thing that I would ask the board to consider, and you know, in the past I've fought this drastically, but for the premier plan, not the other 3, I'm asking the board to allow us to put 20% of those costs back to the employees, where we're paying 100. The big thing to me, if you look at it, there should be a single sheet that shows the difference in the benefits as far as the deductible, max out of cash, that sort of thing. And you'll notice the big difference in what previous carrier has and what we have from the state, which is just amazing. So the employees will definitely benefit from this, from that perspective as well.
When do we have to have this done?
Well, if the board votes on it tonight, then we're working towards starting in getting insurance cards out, I believe September 1st. The plan would switch over. It should have been done, but in trying to get the information from the state and the way that their application process goes before you can ever even turn in all of the employees, it's about a 6-week process. So we started that. If we don't go with it, then it's just time spent. But and the other thing about this plan that I like in doing budgets is they've got their rate set for next year already. So it would not be any more than a 5.5% increase next year. And that's, in 7 years, that's one of the lowest increases we've had. And of course, last year going from the PPO to the high deductible, we didn't have a big increase, but it did put more of a burden back on the employees.
Is there any way you or the rep or one of the head departments that understands this could meet with their employees and explain it to them and not just slap them in the face and tell them they got 3 days to do it in?
No, we're gonna meet with every department. We're gonna have, if it's a small department, we'll meet with all of them. The larger departments will split up into a couple different times, but most definitely we'll go through and explain what their options are and what they have available.
So each employee will be involved in that?
They will have the opportunity. We'll open up meetings, and if they choose not to come, well, it's not much we can do, but most definitely. I mean, every year we always have some type of enrollment where we have either a rep or us to.
I guess what I was getting at, if they're on vacation or something and out of town when their meeting starts, would they still be informed when they get back?
Oh, most certainly. Nancy would do it, or Nancy and myself. Plus, there's a booklet that's been passed out, or a link to a booklet on it. So we've started providing them some information in case we do change away from the plan that we had last year.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure this out. So, Mayor, on the premier, you're asking for 20% charge back to the employee for employee only, right? I mean, they're responsible for every other insured anyway, right?
Right. Currently, the employees, we pay 100%, and then we don't pay a full 100% for their dependents that are on the system. So what we would do is we'd stay with what we're doing with the dependents currently, and we would just require the employees, if they want Premier, to pay that 20%.
Okay, and on the state standard PPO, it's only 4,500, so 500 more. So that
Yes.
would be a $800, be a $300 difference
Correct.
if you're looking at out-of-pocket expenses. But the deductible is $1,000 more.
On which one?
Between the state premier and the state standard.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, so let me get this straight. So max out of pocket. So what I'm not seeing here is how much the employee, we pay on the employees on each of these plans.
Well, as far as the deductible under the PPO, we won't pay any. I mean, last year, because of the high deductible plan, we picked up and we paid part of that deductible in order to get the overall insurance rates down low. But since the increase, and typically with the PPO, you don't pay any of the deductible. So in this case, we would expect the employee would pick up all of their deductible. Was that the question you were asking, sir?
Well, but how much will the employee pay on this plan? When it says 20%, 20% of what?
Well, in some of the costs is in the back, but again, if it's and they're
Like
working.
if I've got here's what I want to know. If I'm an employee and I have 2 children and a wife, what's that going to cost me a month for insurance?
Which plan?
on all of them.
Okay,
Or at least the state premier versus the standard.
okay, the premier, the employee would pay, and that's what you're asking. On the premier plan, employee and spouse, the employee would be responsible for $357.80.
A month?
And that's just employee spouse, not employee spouse child.
No, that's employee, spouse, and child.
It's a family.
That's a family, yes.
Okay.
All right, $357.80, okay? And because, let's see, standard, they would be paying $335.20.
Which on that standard, I mean, whether we change or not, they'll pay that.
So
because
what
of-
about on the limited?
On the limited, they would pay $260.40, employee, spouse, and child.
And this local, I guess I need to read what that is, local. Lowest premiums, but you pay with your deductible first.
That local's the high deductible plan, similar that we're on this year, to where really doesn't pay anything till you meet your deductible. And you'll see that the deductible is higher on that than the other. But the costs are lower.
For the family, it's $4,000.
Vice Mayor, I included a, explanation on what the consumer driven type
Back up.
plan was.
Third page.
Have our department heads, have they had, when did we get this?
We got it day before yesterday.
We
Have they
pay-
had an opportunity to review it?
We have sent out information on this, have not sent out the rates because we just got the rates, well, we sent the rates out, but not this explained.
They've actually seen the plan and what it covers. We've not covered the cost because until the board approves it, we couldn't give it to them. But, the ones that I've talked to, so far I've not seen any issue. And the good thing is they've got the option of which plan they want. And if they don't wanna pay any, they want the town to pay the amount they've always paid, then they'll just have to take something below the premier plan itself.
So do we know what we're gonna pay for an employee only on each of these plans?
Yes,
Okay.
employee only on the premier, what the town's paying or what the employee?
The employee don't pay anything. We cover them employee only 100%, right? Except on Premier. We're asking for that now.
Right, right.
But I want to see what it is totally. I can figure the 20%.
Okay, the premium for employee only is $662
How much?
a month.
$662.
Okay.
The standard is $620 a month. The premium is $481 a month. What did I say, limited on that?
481.
Yes, sir. And then the, consumer driven is $434 a month.
I see. How much on the last one?
$444. If I may approach. This is your employee only premier. There's your proof.
I was trying to write it on there, both.
That's what the difference is what we have that we're proposing versus what we have. And that's on employee.
We don't cover the family anyway, do we?
Huh?
We don't cover the whole family anyway. What we pay just employee, right?
No. Oh, well, you pay 80% of it.
So let me get this straight. So if they chose the Premier plan under your proposal, Mayor, they would pay the $357.80 plus the $132.40, right? $357.80, or is that the total amount? Because that's what they pay for a family. if they had a family, $357.80. So then they would pay 20% of the $662 at $132.40. Is that right?
Yes. I'm sorry.
So they would pay $490.20 for the premium premier plan.
How much?
$490.20.
Uh,
5 to,
no. This is for employee only. Only employee. This is for employee, spouse, and child. This is what they would pay. This is employee and spouse.
So they pay $357.80.
Correct.
So the only way it would affect, what about without 20%?
Without 20% employee only, would be
660.
662, the full amount,
That's employee only.
right?
I'm talking about employee, spouse, and child, the family plan.
so that'd be
That's what I asked. I had a
1,789.
spouse and 2 children here, and it was $357.80.
Right?
And
That's what the employee.
but the town is gonna pay on the employee only $662. And then if we pass where the employee's responsible 20%, 20% of $662 is $132.40.
Right there.
Right, $132.40. There it is right there.
Mhm.
So you wouldn't add the $132.40 to what he'd pay on the family?
It's included in that. That's a family plan.
So what if we don't pass it? How much would the family plan cost it? Because
100%, $17.89 for the town.
On an average, what would we have to pay total more than we did last year for employee? We're just 100% out.
So this insurance is costing $1,789 a month for a family.
It's a 15% increase if we pay it across the board, just like we always have.
15%.
I believe that's what.
Okay, I'm getting it now. I'm getting it.
It's gonna be a
Let me
big
look at this
number.
one.
And
You
that's the
employee.
standard.
So
And to me, with this,
It's hard to do the older employees like us, been here a long time.
but see if we give them a choice, and since there's
Right,
not a
but I'm
huge
saying
difference.
it's down the road somewhere, it's gotta change.
There's
to
not
where
a lot of difference
all
on the
new
state
employees
standard
Automatically have to pay
PPO.
34% insurance.
I think I get it now, Mayor. I think what you're trying to tell us is because you said it from the start. We don't have a choice if we choose this state plan for our employees that we've got to offer these 4 plans.
Right.
But it
it's-
would be so unaffordable for us to offer the premier plan without getting an employee to chip in. And more than likely, an employee is not gonna choose that high price plan anyway, because it's $400 and something higher than the state plan and only $500 more out of pocket, give or take.
I mean, if you pay 100%, then they will all take it, because I would. But if you have them put some skin in the game, then it's going to
I think we
switch
need to
exactly.
head in that direction anyway, to be honest with you. I mean, I always had to pay a percentage of my insurance. I mean, I do now. So, I mean, that's,
And I think this starts positioning us towards that, to be honest with you. And again,
It's gotta come sooner or later.
and I hate to harp on this, but one of our biggest issues we've had is the way that the rates have jumped. In being a small town, if you're in a public pool as opposed to a state, all they look at is your claims for that year. And if you've got 2 employees that have high claims, then your rates are gonna go up. Whereas this state plan is such a big pool, again, they've already set next year's rate at a 5.5% increase. So it's a lot easier to manage, to budget, to look towards as well.
how are the employees right now, when they had that $3,500 for the year, and then the year was up, how, did they prorate that for a month at a time to extend past that? Because we should have been on the new plan, right?
We'll be,
Been on July
we'll be
1st.
2 months under, and what will happen is, they'll, basically we've had to replenish that account, but as soon as this is done, then we'll put the stop order so that when we get to the end of this plan, it will cut off, basically.
Well, do they have $3,500 to spend right now?
Uh,
Right this minute, they got whatever they have spent, or whatever they have not spent since July 1st. And
That's all they have is what they had left over from last
no,
year?
it started over.
So they have $3,500
So they do have
to
the
spend.
3,500, yes.
So, and then, so some people could actually spend all that because we didn't get this done on time. That's why I don't understand why we're looking at insurance right now. It's the first insurance thing I've seen this year. I don't understand it. I don't. But I mean, I feel the need, a sense of urgency to get this passed tonight. But we,
I think moving forward, this needs to come out at least a couple months before we give everybody time to look at it and study it and figure it before we just sit down at night and vote on it.
we could lose a lot of money right here.
Well, remember back in, one thing, we don't normally get the quotes until late May or June. And I thought that we had looked at the 3 that had come in a different meeting, and then as we talked about it, the board actually asked me to check on the state fund, which is when I contacted them, and it's when this process started.
Yeah, but we asked to check on the state farm 2 years ago. I mean, that we should always check the state fund to see if it's gonna be a savings to us, because there's such a big network. And most municipalities, they piggyback off the state. So we've been asking for that, but I'm saying that we could really be in bad shape by not getting this done as quick as possible. I make a motion that we pass your proposal on the insurance of accepting the state's fund, and if our employee chooses the premier plan, that they'll have to come out of their pocket 20%.
Okay, so I've got a motion by Vice Mayor Sutton to accept the state plan, with anyone accepting, any staff accepting the premier plan would pay 20% of that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Alderman Rector. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It does pass. That were the only 2 items on the agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
The motion by Vice Mayor Sutton, a second? Second by Alderman Cates. All in favor? Thank you, gentlemen.
I wanted to table it.